All right, so get ready because today we're diving deep into some seriously mind-bending stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be exploring this whole idea of awakening
Oh.
and like how it affects personal growth and maybe even like societal well-being.
Interesting.
And our guide for this whole journey is Monica de Medeiros.
Okay.
She's a Brazilian spiritualist and medium.
Oh, wow.
And we're pulling her insights from a live video she did recently.
Cool.
She tackles some pretty big questions, like how global events might be tied to our collective consciousness, and whether things like poverty or extreme wealth could actually be tied to karma.
Whoa.
Okay.
Heavy stuff, right?
She doesn't just throw these ideas out there, though. She actually gives a really interesting way of understanding it all.
Yeah, one of the things that really stood out to me was this 100-centimeter scale she uses.
Oh.
It represents human evolution.
Okay.
0 is pure instinct.
Right.
100 is pure intuition.
Got it.
And reason is somewhere in the middle. Okay, so where do we all land on this scale?
Well, according to Medeiros, most of humanity is currently stuck somewhere between 25 and 30.
Oh, wow.
Which means we're still super driven by that basic instinct.
Like survival.
Yeah, survival and dominance, rather than actually like embracing life and all its possibilities.
So we're all just a bunch of cave people in fancy clothes.
Kind of, yeah. But the interesting part is how she connects this to all the problems we see in the world today.
Okay.
You know, she points to things like rising poverty.
Yeah.
And that crazy suicide rate.
It's scary high.
Like, did you know a suicide happens every 40 seconds globally?
Seriously?
Yeah, it's wild.
Wow.
Anyway, she sees these things as signs that we're struggling to evolve.
I mean, that's a pretty heavy thought.
It is, but is she saying these hardships are like our fault?
What do you mean?
Like, are we being punished for not being evolved enough?
It's not about blame.
Well,
it's
yeah.
more about understanding this whole concept of karmic consequences.
Okay.
Every action we take creates these ripples. Interesting.
And eventually those ripples come back to us. And they end up shaping our reality both individually and collectively.
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
Yeah.
And sometimes those consequences show up as societal challenges.
Like what?
Well, she uses the example of São Paulo.
Okay.
The homeless population there doubled during the pandemic.
Wow, that's awful.
It is, and it's less about pointing fingers.
Yeah.
And more about understanding that we're all part of this interconnected web. And our actions or even our inactions have consequences.
That go beyond just ourselves.
Exactly. And here's the really fascinating part.
What's that?
She suggests that both extreme poverty and extreme wealth can actually hinder spiritual development.
Wait, how can wealth be a bad thing?
Well, think about it.
I mean, isn't having resources a good thing?
It's not about demonizing wealth.
Okay.
It's about recognizing the potential for imbalance. Okay, imagine someone who's struggling in poverty.
Yeah.
They're completely focused on survival, right?
Now picture someone with tons of wealth. They can get so attached to all their possessions
Yeah, I guess it makes sense.
that they lose sight of what truly matters.
So both extremes can trap you in a cycle
Yes.
of either lack or excess.
Exactly.
And that prevents you from reaching that middle ground.
Right, where you can actually thrive. That's the idea. And Medeiros really emphasizes this whole idea of detachment from material possessions.
Okay.
Especially for those who have a lot of them.
So what does she think real wealth is?
She argues that it's love, compassion, and connection, not just stuff.
Makes you think.
It does. And speaking of things that make you think,
Oh, yeah.
Medeiros also brings up some pretty intense global predictions.
Okay, like what?
Well, she mentions a Spanish medium.
Oh.
Back in 2016, he predicted 3 major reapers.
What?
Yeah, he said these reapers would challenge humanity. The first one was a pandemic.
Oh.
And, well, we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, we do.
And she believes that these reapers are not just random events,
Okay.
but reflections of our collective consciousness.
So like our karma is playing out on a global scale.
Exactly.
Okay. So if we're all contributing to this,
Right.
what can we even do about it?
That's a good question. And I think it's important to remember to not get caught up in the fear of these global events.
It's hard not to.
I know, but Medeiros encourages us to focus on the earthquake and tsunami within ourselves.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does that even mean?
Well, she suggests this really simple but powerful exercise.
Okay.
Look in the mirror and ask yourself what bothers you the most about yourself.
Okay.
It's all about acknowledging those internal struggles we have.
Those inner earthquakes and tsunamis.
Exactly, because according to Medeiros,
Yeah.
the things that really bug us about other people often reflect the things we don't like about ourselves.
So it's like a mirror reflecting back our own stuff.
Exactly.
That's pretty deep.
It is.
So by addressing those inner earthquakes and tsunamis, we can actually contribute to a more harmonious world.
Exactly. It's like that Gandhi quote.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, that's the one.
Wow, so powerful.
It is. And this idea of self-reflection leading to healing, that plays a huge role in Medeiros' own life.
Really?
Yeah. In 2019, she was diagnosed with intestinal cancer.
Oh, wow.
And the doctors gave her a really grim prognosis.
That's awful.
It was. And she decided to face it head on.
So she did chemo?
She did conventional treatment, but she also incorporated spiritual practices.
Okay.
And completely changed her lifestyle.
But how does that tie back to self-reflection?
Well, she realized something.
What's that?
Even though she talked about fraternity and solidarity all the time, she actually had this deep fear of betrayal.
Wow.
And she believes that fear manifested as a physical ailment.
Cancer.
Yeah.
So she's saying that emotional stuff can show up as physical problems.
That's exactly what she's suggesting.
That's incredible.
It is.
Her story is a pretty powerful example.
It really is.
Of how self-awareness can play a huge role in healing.
Not just emotionally, but physically, too.
Okay, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
But what did she do to actually confront that fear of betrayal?
That's a great question.
Like, how do you even begin to tackle something so deep?
Well, that's something we'll dive into more deeply in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, I'm ready for it.
Me too.
All right, so last time we left off with Monica de Medeiros and her cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
And this realization she had
that
her fear of betrayal might have actually played a role.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah, it is. But how did she tackle that fear?
Well, it wasn't easy.
I bet.
Remember, Medeiros has Asperger's. Right. So making eye contact and really connecting with people, that was always a challenge for her.
But facing a life-threatening illness?
Yeah.
I feel like that gives you a new perspective.
It's like a wake-up call.
Right.
Yeah.
Suddenly everything you thought was important just kind of falls away.
And you have to confront what truly matters. And for Medeiros, that was learning to trust, to open herself up to vulnerability.
Even though it scared her?
Yeah, even though it was terrifying.
Wow.
She started small.
Why?
She made a conscious effort to make eye contact with people.
Okay.
To work on building real relationships.
So she took those practical steps.
Yeah.
Even if it pushed her out of her comfort zone.
Exactly.
But how did she connect that to healing?
Well, remember, she believes there's a really strong connection between our emotional and physical well-being.
Right.
So for her, addressing that fear, it wasn't just about feeling better emotionally. It was about creating a state of internal harmony that could actually allow her body to heal.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
It is.
It's easy to dismiss that kind of thing of like woo-woo or whatever.
For sure.
But her story really makes you think.
It does, but let's be real.
Yeah.
Most of us weren't facing a life or death situation.
Thank goodness. So how can we apply these ideas to our everyday lives?
Well, Medeiros actually offers some very practical advice.
Okay, I'll work.
For cultivating self-awareness and using it to promote healing, even if we're not dealing with something as serious as cancer.
Okay, so give me the practical tips. What did she suggest?
Remember that mirror exercise we talked about?
Yeah, looking in the mirror.
Right.
And asking yourself what bothers you.
It's more than just identifying what bugs you, though.
Okay, so what else is there?
It's about understanding why it bothers you. You know, she believes that what irritates us in others often reflects aspects that we dislike or even fear within ourselves.
It's like our own unacknowledged stuff coming back to haunt us.
Exactly. It's like a mirror reflecting back our own issues.
Okay, so instead of getting annoyed by that coworker who's always late, I should be asking myself, why does this bother me so much?
Right.
Is it because I value punctuality to an extreme?
Or maybe you're secretly envious of their laid-back attitude. That's a good point.
It's all about digging deeper.
Yeah.
Understanding the root of our reactions.
That's not always easy.
No, it's not.
But it can be really illuminating.
It can, and sometimes it helps to have support.
Like what kind of support?
Well, Medeiros suggests seeking guidance.
Okay.
From therapists or spiritual mentors.
Yeah.
Even trusted friends.
Yeah. So having a compassionate guide.
Yeah.
To help you navigate those tricky inner landscapes.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But isn't there a risk of getting too caught up in all this introspection?
What do you mean?
Like becoming so self-absorbed that we forget about the world around us.
That's a valid concern.
Right.
Yeah. But Medeiros emphasizes that self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's not meant to isolate us.
Okay.
It's meant to empower us.
Gotcha.
And she's a huge advocate for learning and experiencing new things.
So reading, learning, trying new things.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not just about looking inward.
Yeah.
It's about engaging with the world
Right.
in a curious and open-minded way.
So all of that contributes to our growth.
It does. But Medeiros is very clear about something.
What's that?
Self-awareness without action is kind of pointless.
Okay, I see what you mean.
It's like having a map but never leaving the house.
Yeah, you got to actually use the map.
Exactly.
So we've got the self-reflection piece.
Yeah.
We're expanding our knowledge.
Right.
But what about those actions?
What do you mean?
What does she suggest we do with all these insights?
Well, it can be as simple as being kinder,
Okay.
more compassionate in our everyday interactions,
Yeah.
maybe volunteering your time or resources to a cause you care about, or even making conscious choices about your consumption habits.
Like buying ethical and sustainable products.
Exactly. Every little action creates ripples.
So by aligning our actions with our values,
Yeah.
we're essentially creating positive ripples.
You got it, even if they seem small.
Okay, that makes sense. But isn't all this talk of evolution and purpose,
Yeah.
isn't that setting a pretty high bar?
Well, think about it this way. Medeiros reminds us that this journey isn't about being perfect.
Okay.
It's about making progress.
We're all works in progress.
Right, it's like we're constantly evolving and learning.
It's okay to mess up.
The key is to learn from those mistakes.
And keep moving forward.
Exactly. It's like learning to ride a bike.
Yeah, you're going to fall a few times,
You will.
but you get back up, dust yourself off, and keep pedaling.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And Medeiros' own story is a powerful example of that.
Even facing cancer,
Yeah.
she found the strength to confront her fears
And make changes.
and ultimately heal.
That's incredible. And that leads us to another fascinating aspect of her teachings.
Oh, what's that?
The role of intuition.
Okay, I've always been a bit skeptical about anything that sounds too woo-woo.
I hear you, but I think you'll find this interesting.
All right, I'm willing to hear her out.
Good.
So what does she say about intuition?
Well, she believes intuition is a powerful tool
For what?
for guiding us towards our highest good. It's that quiet whisper within, that gut feeling
Yeah.
that tells you what feels right.
Even if you can't logically explain it.
Exactly.
Okay, I think I've felt that before.
Have you?
Like that time I had a strong urge to take a different route home.
Okay.
And then later I found out there was a huge accident on my usual way.
Wow, that's wild.
Right.
Yeah.
But how do we know if it's really intuition?
Or just our imagination running wild.
Exactly.
Well, that's where discernment comes in.
Okay.
Medeiros suggests a few practices to help cultivate and trust our intuition.
Like what?
First, start paying attention to those subtle nudges.
Those gut feelings?
Yeah, don't just dismiss them.
It's coincidence or overthinking.
Exactly. Observe them
Okay.
and see if they lead you in a positive direction.
So it's like training ourselves to be more aware.
Of those intuitive whispers.
Got it. What else?
Well, create space for stillness,
Okay.
quiet reflection, whether that's through meditation,
Yeah.
spending time in nature, or even just disconnecting from all the constant stimulation.
Of the world.
Yes. These practices help quiet the mind
And create space.
for intuition to emerge.
So clearing the channel
Exactly.
so that inner voice can come through.
That's the idea. And finally, and maybe most importantly,
Yeah.
trust the process. Developing your intuition is a journey, not a destination.
Like that.
Right. You're going to doubt yourself.
Yeah, probably.
You'll second guess your inner voice.
Oh, for sure.
You might even make choices that don't quite align.
Yeah.
But that's all part of learning.
Just like any skill.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the better you get.
Exactly. But Medeiros doesn't just see intuition as a personal tool.
Right.
She takes it a step further.
How so?
She believes that when we tap into our intuition, we're connecting to a larger field of consciousness, a collective intelligence.
Like a universal mind.
Kinda, yeah.
And that holds the answers to the world's problems.
That's the idea.
So it's like our individual intuition is linked to a collective wisdom.
Exactly. And by cultivating our intuition, we're not just benefiting ourselves.
Okay.
We're contributing to that collective consciousness.
Adding our own unique perspective.
Exactly.
So personal growth and collective well-being are intertwined.
That's what she's suggesting.
It's like we're all part of this giant cosmic web.
Yeah.
And our individual threads woven together create a more beautiful and vibrant whole.
You've got it. And that brings us to another really interesting element of her perspective.
Okay, what's that?
Her views on the afterlife.
We're going deep now.
We are. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
What does she believe happens after we die?
Well, Medeiros believes that death isn't the end.
Okay.
It's more like a transition.
To another state of being.
Exactly.
So no pearly gates or fiery pits.
Not quite. She describes the afterlife
Yeah.
as a continuation of our spiritual journey.
Interesting.
A realm of immense love and compassion where we're greeted by spiritual guides.
And loved ones.
So it's less about judgment and punishment
Right.
and more about continued growth
And evolution.
even after our physical bodies are gone.
That's the heart of it.
Yeah.
Embrace life fully.
Okay.
Learn from our experiences and know that our journey continues.
Even beyond the physical.
Yeah. And this leads to a question she often asks her audience.
What's that?
What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Wow. That's a powerful question.
It is. It makes you think.
About the impact you want to have.
Not just in this lifetime.
But on the grand tapestry of human existence.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the core of her teachings.
Okay. What's that?
Embrace your role as a conscious creator.
Okay.
Cultivate self-awareness.
An intuition.
Yes. Act with compassion and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And trust in the unfolding of your journey.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But it's also incredibly inspiring.
It makes you realize that every choice we make, every action we take,
has the potential to contribute to something much bigger than ourselves.
Beautifully said, and that's a perfect segue.
Into the final part of our deep dive.
I'm ready?
Where we'll explore Medeiros' insights on finding our purpose and embracing the flow of life.
Okay, so we've explored so much with Monica de Medeiros. Self-awareness, intuition, even the afterlife.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It has. But this idea of leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
It really got me thinking.
In what way?
It's like we're all characters in this huge play.
I like that.
Right? And we get to choose what role we want to play.
Medeiros believes that each of us has a unique role.
Okay.
A special gift to offer the world.
But how do we figure out what that purpose is?
It's not always easy, is it?
No, not at all.
She has some really good advice about that.
Okay, I'm listening.
She suggests paying attention to what brings you joy,
Right.
what lights you up.
What makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
So less about some grand, world-changing mission. More about noticing those moments where you feel a spark.
Exactly. Those sparks can be clues.
To your purpose.
Yeah, guiding you towards things that let you be your true self.
So it could be a hobby you love.
It could.
A cause you're passionate about, or even just bringing more kindness into your everyday interactions.
Exactly.
So it's not necessarily about changing the world. It's about finding those things that give your life meaning.
And purpose.
And then sharing that with the world.
That's the idea. Align your actions with your passions.
When you do that?
You tap into this flow of energy that allows you to make a positive impact.
No matter how big or small.
And here's the interesting part.
Yeah.
Medeiros believes that finding your purpose, it's not a one-time event.
Oh, really?
It's an ongoing process.
So it's not like you find it and you're done.
It's more fluid than that.
So as we grow and change, our purpose might evolve too.
Exactly. It could lead us down new paths.
And open up new possibilities.
Yeah. And that brings us to another important point.
What's that?
The need to embrace uncertainty.
Okay.
And surrender to the flow of life.
This is where I get a little uncomfortable.
How come?
I like having a plan.
Most people do.
The thought of letting go and trusting the universe?
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
I understand that we humans like to be in control.
Yeah, we too.
But Medeiros reminds us, life is unpredictable.
That's for sure.
Trying to control every little thing, it often just leads to frustration.
So instead of forcing things, we should try to adapt.
To whatever comes our way.
Trusting that even when things go wrong, there's a bigger picture unfolding.
That's the essence of surrender.
It's not about giving up.
No.
It's about letting go of the need to control everything.
And trusting.
That even in the challenges, we're being guided.
Towards our highest good.
It's like learning to dance with life.
Instead of trying to lead every step.
I like that analogy.
But Medeiros doesn't stop there. She takes it even further.
With dust.
Conditional love.
That feels like a tall order.
It is a challenging concept.
Right.
But it's at the heart of her teachings.
And it starts with ourselves.
Right? That's what she says.
So before we can love others unconditionally,
we
have to learn to love ourselves.
Flaws and all.
Wow.
It's about embracing our imperfections
Okay.
as part of what makes us unique.
So from that foundation of self-love,
Yes,
we can start to extend that same acceptance to others.
to everyone.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
But does that mean we have to tolerate bad behavior?
What do you mean?
What about setting boundaries?
That's a great question. And unconditional love doesn't mean that we condone hurtful behavior
Okay.
or let ourselves be mistreated,
So it's about recognizing everyone's worth,
even those who challenge us,
finding that balance between holding people accountable.
but still seeing their humanity.
That's deep.
It is. And unconditional love is a powerful force. It can heal wounds, bridge divides.
And create a world where everyone feels seen and valued.
That's the vision.
It's beautiful, and it might feel a bit idealistic.
It might.
But it all comes back to that idea.
Of interconnectedness.
Exactly. By cultivating self-love,
And extending it to others.
we're creating a ripple effect.
That can lead to a more harmonious world.
You said it perfectly.
Mm.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive with Monica de Medeiros.
It's been a pleasure exploring her work with you.
It really has.
Yeah.
We went from the human ego to the afterlife.
We covered a lot of ground.
But I feel like we've been given a new way to see the world
I agree.
and our place in it.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up, I encourage you,
Our listeners,
yes, to think about what really resonated with you today.
what will you carry forward?
What actions will you take to embody these teachings in your own life?
Because it's not just about understanding these ideas.
Right.
It's about living them
Integrating them into our lives.
and letting them guide us towards a more awakened, fulfilling, and purposeful existence.
Yeah, beautifully said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep growing.